Okay, fantastic. So hello everyone, and welcome to Lily's Show and Tell series. I'm Cassandra Nieves, the Lily Web Committee Chair. Lily stands for Lifelong Information Literacy, and we're a group of librarians and information professionals who work to promote lifelong information literacy. Before we begin, I just have a couple quick housekeeping items. First, the session is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the Show and Tell webpage by the end of the week. Feel free to put your questions into the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat and note down any questions for our speaker, which we can get to at the end of the presentation. Finally, if you want to learn more about Lily or presenting your own show and tell event, I put my email address in my Zoom name and I'll put it in the chat as well. Feel free to email me at any time. And now on to our speaker, Michelle Sanchez.
Hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Thank you, Cassandra, for introducing me. That was really great. So before I get started, let me just share my screen to screen one. Okay, share. All right, everybody can see that. It looks good. Okay, perfect. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Shots Instead of One, using the flipped classroom to teach information. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Slideshow. There we go. I am just so excited to get you guys learning about this that I am just not getting into it right now. But yes, welcome to Two Shots Instead of One, using the flipped classroom to teach information literacy. So my name is Michelle Sanchez. I am a reference librarian at Chaffey College, which is a community college in the Inland Empire in Southern California. Just a little bit about me before we get started. I have about 1.5 years experience here at Chaffey College, but overall 18 years experience in both the community college and research library environments. Right now is my current position. It's kind of half academic librarian, where I do perform information literacy courses along with the typical reference librarian duties. And I also take care of our archives, and that might include working with history classes and using primary and secondary sources for their coursework. So just want to get started with a land acknowledgement. Chaffey College is located on the unceded Tongva Gabrieleño lands in the Inland Empire, just a little bit south of the Mount Baldy region. So what's going on today? So just to give you an idea of what I'll be talking about, I'll be getting started with talking about the issues that we see with the one-shot information literacy session that we typically do as librarians. Then I'll be moving on to the flipped classroom model and a program called Playposit. And then finally, I'll wrap up with the pros and cons of the approach that I undertook when I did this two-shot classroom model. All right, so I'm going to start this off with a poll. I double checked, triple checked, it should be working. So I just want to get your feelings about one-shot information literacy sessions, whether if you've done it in the past and you no longer do it now, or if you're still doing that as a librarian wherever you're at. So we have 3 options. The first one is, I can't stand one-shots. I wish I had more time to present. The second one is, I can make do if I have to, it's doable. And then the third option is, easy. I can cover everything that the instructor wants me to cover in the one shot. So I'll give that just a little bit of time, give everybody a chance to put in their responses. Okay. All right, looks like yeah, it looks like most of us can make do if we have to. Like we have that feeling like, okay, I would love to have more time considering how much material I have to cover, but worst comes to worst, I'll do it. Okay, yeah, and it looks like the next biggest piece of the pie. It looks like, yeah, okay, easy. I can totally cover everything that the instructor wants me to talk about. And yeah, and of course we have a little bit where it's like, one shots are the worst. Like, why do we even have these? I can't cover everything. But yeah, it looks like most of us, it's like, yeah, we'll do this if we have to. No, but thank you for your responses. It's really good to see that, I'm not the only one who feels a certain way. I fall into the majority of the people here. It's like, yeah, I'll do it. It won't be great, but I'll do it. All right, so moving on. What exactly is the problem with a one-shot information literacy session or an IL? session. Typically you get a request from the instructor for an IL session, and they're like, okay, I want you to deliver all this information in about 50 minutes. And sometimes maybe even less. I've heard of people like they've had to give a whole session within like half hour. It's like, that's not enough time, but you got to do what you got to do. And usually these instructors want you to cover everything in the research process. Um, and they expect you to do that in the 50-minute time frame. And the thing is, maybe you've tried to do this and, you're in the classroom and you see the students, they're zoning out, they're doing something else on their laptop or they're doodling. And I've had STEM students just straight up fall asleep, put their head against the wall and it's time for a nap. It's just really frustrating. And so you're left with the question, well, how do I make my IL sessions interesting so that students are engaged, they're not falling asleep, they're staying awake, and you are literally like trying not to just information dump a whole bunch of material onto them? How do I like do this and make them interested in what I'm talking about? Because this is information that's going to help them with their assignments. So the next thing we need to talk about, or at least explore, is what do IL sessions typically cover? And of course, this can vary from college to college. It can vary on what your requesting instructor is asking of you. But this is what at least the librarians at Chaffey College tend to cover. The most common topics are how to perform research. And this typically includes developing your topic, developing your research question, how to search for scholarly articles, and how to choose and evaluate which sources are good for your assignment, make sure they're reliable and credible. Another topic that we tend to cover are the differences between a scholarly source and a popular source in the databases, like looking at those elements and at least visually figuring out the differences between the two. The third topic that we tend to cover is the how to evaluate websites when you're doing your research. So the differences between a .com, a .org, a .edu, a .gov, that sort of thing. And then finally, again, it depends because our tutoring center tends to cover this particular topic, but the topic of how to cite your sources, whether that's MLA, APA, Chicago, Turabian, or whatever the instructor is asking for. So of course, it's super helpful when the instructor actually gives you their assignment sheet way ahead of time. So that way you have enough time to go through the databases that your library has access to, figuring out what you want your students to learn. Because otherwise, like I've had one instructor at least who did not give me their instructions at all for the assignment that they wanted their students to cover. So I had to wing it. And they jumped in during my session with the assignment requirements. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. I could have had this, way before, but at least you're providing it during the session. But still, yeah, it always helps to have an instructor give you their requirements or their requests beforehand. So how did I even get into this topic about potentially going from a one-shot to a two-shot model? When I first started at Chaffey College in fall of 2022, we're automatically enrolled in what's called the New Faculty Orientation, or NFO. And this lasted the entirety of the fall semester. And during that time, my cohort was assigned what's called an NFO project. It was mandatory. We couldn't get out of it. And what this was we would have to take everything that we had learned in our orientation and apply it to a project with our classes in the following semester. So spring of 2023 in my case. And this could include pulling from such topics as active learning, universal design, leveraging student strengths in the classroom, and other such teaching strategies. I particularly chose to go with active learning and utilize a program that Chaffey College already had access to that was already integrated with our Canvas learning management system, and this is called PlayPosit. And I'll explain about PlayPosit a little bit later on in this presentation. But just for right now, what you need to know, it is an interactive tutorial program. And also what got me into this topic was I had been talking with my colleagues, fellow librarians at the college, and how we always wish for more time to work with these students instead of just having the one and done 50-minute session. And we kind of wished like, oh, I wish we could have our sessions scattered throughout the semester instead of just coming in the one time, especially if we can get it to have it scattered to meet certain goal points in the student's assignment. So maybe come at the beginning of semester to teach them how to develop a topic. And then maybe later on in the middle of the semester, oh, this is how you come up with a search strategy and how to search the databases and the catalog. And then maybe, if needed, a third visit saying, okay, this is how you cite your sources. This is how you create your reference list or your works cited list. All right. So as I was prepping during fall of 2022 for my project, I performed research into what was called the flipped classroom model. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the flipped classroom model, but basically it's what happens when instructors deliver typically online instruction, usually in a lecture format. They post it to their learning management system, and they have the students view the material on the recording before the actual in-person class. So once the students come into the in-person class, they'll already have the knowledge to pull from, to recall from when they viewed the video lecture or tutorial beforehand. And that way they can apply that knowledge into the in-person class with hands-on experience, hands-on practice. And this is actually a really great way, like it just helps students be more alert in class instead of just zoning out, staring off into space. And it also helps deal with what's called cognitive overload. And cognitive overload is just basically when students, they're just given way too much information at once for them to process efficiently. So if they cannot process that information, all that information at one given time, they're going to get overwhelmed, they're going to shut down, and they're going to have a hard time recalling that information, as opposed to if you break it down into smaller chunks or have them view it or learn the information at a different time, then it's not so bad. Then they can deal with processing that information. So after gaining an understanding of how the flipped classroom model works, I then played around with what's called PlayPosit. As I said before, this is an online tutorial interactive software. And this is already, I know it's um, offered as a plugin with at least the Canvas LMS system. And it's really great. I love this. It is basically a tool where you can upload your pre-made video lectures into the program, and then you can add interactive check-in questions and quizzes throughout the tutorial. So, and it really helped for me since we have a distance education department. They have already had support system built in, like a FAQ page. They had tutorials teaching us as faculty how to use PlayPosit. So it wasn't like I had to figure it out all on my own. They didn't just throw me into the waters, into the deep end, so to speak. So I'm really thankful that that was there. And then the next step was to find an instructor who was willing to let me use their class as a guinea pig, so to speak, with using the PlayPosit flipped classroom model with their class. Now, typically, of course, it might be different for you wherever you're at your college. But here at Chaffey, we are assigned to certain subject areas, or what we call academic and career communities. And when we get an IL session request from an instructor in our community, our library coordinator will choose one of us and say, oh, Michelle, you are assigned to Professor so-and-so for their English 1A class on this day at this time. In this case, since this was early spring 2023, when I was starting to implement my project, I happened to be assigned to a sociology professor, despite not being part of that community, not being a liaison for that community. I just happened to be available at the time, but that was okay. And in this particular case, I was assigned to a course called Soc 80. This is a research methods in sociology. So once I was assigned this particular IL session request, I got in touch with the instructor via email, just introducing myself, saying, hi, I'm just confirming your information literacy session request for this day at this time. And I basically pitched my idea of doing this two-shot format for her class. Pretty much asked, is it okay if I used your class as my guinea pig for my new faculty project that I have to do? This is what to expect. I'm creating this play pause it video, teaching students the basics of research for their assignment. And I really leaned on the fact that this is totally customizable. You can tell me whatever you want for your class, and I will do my best to make sure that this tutorial followed by the in-person session is going to meet your students' needs. So once I told the professor what was going on, thankfully she agreed to doing this. She was very open and letting me perform this two-shot format with her class. I started to prepare for the play pause it, for the video tutorial. So this is just a screenshot of my script that I eventually turned into a transcript to put into the tutorial later on for students who needed accommodation. So as you can see really quick here, I did my research. I explored a lot of the sociology focused databases that we had. In this particular instance, I was focusing on Social Index with full text, JSTOR, and Academic Search Complete. And I wanted to make sure, like in this case, oh, this is where you can find these particular databases. So I just did my best as I was performing the practical way of finding these databases hands-on with your mouse, with your keyboard, whatever it is. How can I translate that into a script that will make sense, that will eventually turn into a transcript? So that was something I really had to think about, making sure I was describing my process and my thought process of navigating the Chaffey College Library website, making sure it would make sense to these students. So once I got all that, once I made my script, recorded my screen, showing them what I was doing, I created an assignment page in Canvas. At least in my sandbox, that way nobody else can touch it. No one can see it before it's ready. So in this case, you can see I just wanted to add a message to the students, making sure like, hey, can you please watch this video tutorial to prepare yourself before I come in to teach you guys how to have your hands-on experience with researching for your literature review, in this case, that they were doing. And I wanted to make sure that they watched this video and this tutorial at least 1 week before I came in to teach. Because I found if you try to tell students to watch a tutorial way too far in advance, they're going to forget the information. So at least I wanted to have them watch this video a week before I come in. That way the information is still fresh in their heads. They can take their time. They can come back to revisit it if needed, and they don't feel rushed and not pressured to memorize everything all at once. I also included the link to the video once I uploaded it into Play Pause It. And I wanted to make sure I gave the students a notice of how long they should expect to be looking at this tutorial. That way they can manage their time better, don't feel stressed about, okay, I got to watch this all in one shot. It's like, well, no, just here's what to expect in terms of how long this particular assignment is going to take you. And then here you can see I also included a link to the transcript for the video that I had just converted my script for myself when I was recording and just transferred it into a PDF file for a transcript. And just below that, I included resources that I do mention in the Play Pause It tutorial. In this case, I had a downloadable PDF file of a table showing the differences between scholarly and popular articles, a link to the library homepage, as well as a link to our contact information, whether that was through the instant messenger chat, Zoom appointments, emails, phone, whatever the students would feel most comfortable with. So how did the Play Pause It even go? Well, first of all, when creating my video for the research sociology class, I use the free version of what's called FlexClip. This is an online video editing website. Of course, there's two different versions. There's the free version versus the paid version. And of course, with the paid version, you're going to get more bells and whistles. But I found that the free version worked just as fine. It got the point across. It worked for me. So if you're ever thinking about FlexClip, I recommend that. Choose the free version. And once I had made my video in FlexClip, which involved like a lot of screen captures, a lot of screen recording of what I was doing on the library's website and our databases, I downloaded my finished product as an MP4 file onto my computer in local storage. And then later on, I uploaded that file into what's called into the PlayPosit editor in Canvas. And that way I could add interactions and check-in questions for the students in the tutorial. So this is just a screenshot of the title card for my video. And it's kind of hard to see, but at the bottom here, you'll see a timeline with very, very small white dots. Those dots just represent the check-in questions that I placed in there for students. It automatically stops the students from going forward in the video. So they're there, they have to interact with the questions and answer the questions in order to move forward. All right, so at the beginning of my PlayPosit tutorial, I had a quick check-in question. It was more of a poll, just getting a feel for students' feelings about how the research process makes them feel. And I had a class of 34 students. I allowed the poll to give them multiple answers at once. They could choose as many answers as they wanted. In this case, it was 4. And it was split pretty evenly. 14 students were nervous about the research process, and 10 were like, yeah, I don't feel so bad about this. I can do this. And sure, there were a few that were not feeling so great. They were pretty frantic and they're pretty scared. So at least this gave me an idea of what to expect with these students when I would go into the in-class session. So that way I can maybe alter my approach, focus on certain aspects of the research process, maybe put more time on one part, not so much time on another part. So these are just screenshots of the tutorial itself. It wouldn't play on here. And quite frankly, I don't think the bandwidth would handle it. But in these screenshots that I have as examples, we can see in this case, I'm looking at opposing viewpoints database, showing students how to look up certain topics, where to find resources in opposing viewpoints, like their academic journals, listings, images, statistics, that sort of thing. Here I have an example from the tutorial showing how to navigate JSTOR. In this case, it looks like I was doing a search on sororities. And it looks like also I was focusing on how to filter out results so they don't have to look through over 16,000 results. And in this screenshot here, I was showing students how to search in our library catalog, mainly for books. Doesn't matter if they were online books or physical books. Now this, I couldn't get the student view for the PlayPosit, but this is on the back end. This is on my end as an editor. Some examples of what the check-in questions look like. So for this particular example, I asked students to go to the opposing viewpoints database. The link is already there, so they don't have to navigate through all the web pages. And I asked them to search for age discrimination. And then once they got to the age discrimination page in opposing viewpoints, I asked them, how many items are filed under the statistics links for this particular topic? And of course, I wanted to add the correct answer first, get that out of the way. At the time of this particular PlayPosit, there were 12 items filed under statistics for age discrimination. And then I added 3 more wrong answers, but right now you can only see 1. And based on the student's answer, depending if it was correct or incorrect, if it was incorrect, they would get this GIF saying, oh, hey, try again. It's not the right answer. But if they got it wrong, we got Thor saying, yes, you did get the right answer. You're doing great. Another example that PlayPosit can provide not just multiple choice questions, but also free-form questions. So for this example, I downloaded a particular article from, I think it was Academic Search Complete, attached it as a PDF file to this particular question, and asked students, look at this file, and using the CRAP method, the currency, relevance, accuracy, authority, purpose method, would you use this article for your literature review, and why or why not? So students could look at this and then give me their answer. And then I could see on the back end, okay, what is their reasoning? Did I explain the CRAP tool very well? Did they apply it correctly? And another example for a multiple choice question, I asked students using our library catalog, the OneSearch catalog, search for the book, The Voting Rights Act of 1965. What is the call number for this particular book? And you can see the correct answer is 324.62H65. And we got Taika Waititi saying, yes, you are absolutely right. And then I included this GIF here, maybe you should give it another shot for the incorrect books. So I wanted to include a number that was a little bit close to the correct one, just to give students a little bit of a challenge. But then I also wanted to give them answers that were obviously very much incorrect. So at least give them a bit of more of a chance to get the right answer. So this is just a very simplified view of the questions that I had in the PlayPosit. As you can see, a lot of them pretty much were doing really great. They got, the majority of these students got these questions correct, especially for the question, how many items are filed under the statistics page in opposing viewpoints for this particular topic that I had you search. I noticed that they weren't really good with the question. I believe I had this question show up using Academic Search Complete. What filters are used to show results that have been checked by subject experts and that have been written recently? Looking back, I believe that maybe I shouldn't have had students focus on two filters in one question. I should have just maybe focused on one. So either just do what filter is used to show results that have been checked by subject experts, or just gone with just which results have been written recently. Like, don't put two filters together in one question. And I think that's what led to more students not getting that question correct. But for the most part, I was really pleased with them getting these answers, getting these questions correct. Now this, I wanted to show you what it looks like, or the answers were looking like for that one free form question. Looking at the particular article, money is never enough, and using the CRAP tool, would you use this article for your lit review? Why or why not? The majority of students said no. A little bit of them said yes, I still would use this for my lit review. And a sliver of them said, well, I'm not really quite sure. So I just wanted to show you 3 examples of the students' answers, depending on where they landed on yes, no, or not quite sure. This student said no, they would not use this article for their lit review because, well, the author, they're giving their own opinion, their own personal opinion. That's making it like a pretty biased view. So I don't want to be persuaded to go to their view. I want something that's a little bit more unbiased, more neutral. So I wouldn't use this particular article in my research for my lit review. I had a student say, yeah, I would use this article because I think that the author is showing off their knowledge of the topic that they're writing about, and their credentials show me that, yes, they know what they're talking about. They went to school for this particular topic. And also, I think that the grammar and the way that the author is expressing themselves, I can believe this person. This isn't just something that my next door neighbor's writing about in their basement. And then I did have one student. They did give a response where they were showing how they applied the CRAP tool point by point, but they didn't really give me a yes or no answer. So while I was happy to see, great, you're using this tool effectively and correctly. I still don't know if you're going to be using this for your research or not. Now, at the end of the PlayPosit, I did include a closing poll. And I asked, how was this tutorial for you? Was it helpful? And I was just so happy to see that the majority of students found this tutorial to be extremely helpful. Looks like about 15 people um, liked the tutorial. They found it extremely useful in preparing for the time when I would be coming into their classroom. I think it was like a little bit later on down the road. And then there were a few, a little bit, maybe like 6 or 7 students were like, I'm not quite sure, but I think I got it. We'll see what happens when we get to class. But thankfully, nobody was lost. I was so relieved. So that told me, okay, good. I'm explaining things in an effective way. I'm explaining them clearly. So I'm just glad that students are understanding my explanation of the research process and how to navigate through our websites and our databases. And also right after this particular exit poll, I had students give me feedback. I said, please, you are the first students that I'm doing this particular approach with a two-shot approach. So please, please, please tell me, what did you like about this? What didn't work for you? That way I can improve this for future classes. And the majority of student feedback was overwhelmingly positive. A lot of them loved that there was check-in questions. It helped them to review the material that was presented to them, and they liked that I had deliberately put in multiple tries, especially for the multiple choice questions. So if they got an answer wrong, it's like, oh, you can try again. I'm giving you I gave them 3 tries, I believe, to get the correct answer. So they really appreciated that. A lot of them did not realize the resources that we have as a library, so they expressed that sentiment. Um, and they also really liked that I used GIFs as reactions when they were answering the multiple choice questions. It just really helped them get a lot more engaged, a lot more involved in the whole process. So then the next step was the follow-up class. And this is what would have been the one-shot class if I had just gone along with tradition. So once the students had watched the tutorial, the Play Pause tutorial that I had created, then now they would go to the scheduled class and I would be there in person. So once I was there, after I let the professor do their thing, um, just getting students settled and preparing them to work with me in person, I first asked the students, is there anything that was weird or didn't make sense, or would you like me to clarify from the tutorial that I had you watch before you came in? And at the time, I don't think I had any questions. Everyone seemed to be okay with what I had presented online. The only thing I did actually present in a traditional lecture way was explaining to students how to brainstorm for search words for their topic, for their literature review, because I did not want to go over 20 minutes with that tutorial, mainly because, again, cognitive overload. We don't want students to be bogged down with so much stuff that they can't process it in a short amount of time. And also, is anyone going to want to watch a 30-minute video? Like, no, 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 we're not going to do that. And I'm sure they have so many other things they need to do, especially for their other classes. So that I just made sure that that particular aspect of the research process, the part about brainstorming for search words, I could cover that in class easy, very quickly. And so once that happened, I gave students half an hour of time to go into the databases that I had talked about in the Play Pause tutorial, explore those databases with their chosen topic and their search terms that they had brainstormed right now with me in class. And I didn't let them do it alone. I was walking around the classroom, making myself easily available, saying, hey, go ahead, flag me down if you need help coming up with search terms. If you need help navigating a database, I won't bite. Like, just please, just wave me over and I'll come help you. And that went really well, I found. And with the last 10 minutes of the class, I just used it to answer last minute questions that they had, maybe something that came up during the hands-on experience that they had with me just moments before. And again, just saying, hey, if you need more help, this is how you contact me personally, or this is how you can contact any of the other librarians. They're more than happy to help you. Now, student reactions in the class, when I went in to give them the hands-on experience, I was pleasantly surprised, let me tell you. Everybody was incredibly attentive. They were listening to me. Nobody was putting their heads down on their desk. Nobody was leaning their heads against the wall for nap time. They were focused and ready to go. And they were also really unafraid to ask me questions if they needed clarification on something, whether if that was something in the play posit that they had watched before, or if it was something that had gone over. I'm talking about how to brainstorm keywords for their search strategies, whatever it was, they were on top of it. They were not shy, which was also a pleasant surprise. And also, they were really happy and thankful to have my guidance during the in-class session when I was walking around helping them brainstorm for their search strategies. They weren't very shy about it. They weren't, I don't want to say resentful, but they weren't closed off. They were just very open and very interested in what I had to say, which again was a new experience. You don't get that very often with the students. So I was just really happy and excited at how students received this with the in-class portion. So what happened after that? What was the next steps? Well, for the rest of that semester for spring of 2023, I had success in integrating the same approach, this two-shot approach, with my English composition courses, English 1A. And again, it was the same process. Look at the databases that are specific for the English composition courses, screenshot that, screen record that, turn it into a video, upload to PlayPosit, and make available for the instructors through Canvas. The following semester, which was last semester in fall of 2023, I didn't have a chance to get to do a two-shot instruction approach, but I did manage to work with a psychology instructor who reached out to me personally, and he wanted to create a PlayPosit for his class as extra credit. And that just covered the basics, how to read a psychology article. This is the difference between scholarly and popular articles. And in his case, what he wanted his students to do was to navigate psych articles to find peer-reviewed articles. So I was very excited to make the PlayPosit for that. And as of right now, for spring of 2024, I am continuing to plan and improve for future flipped classroom sessions. This includes providing more detailed feedback for incorrect answers that students give on the check-in questions. As you've seen in the examples I showed, it was just reaction gifts, which is all well and good. But I've noticed that, well, maybe if I give a short explanation as to why a answer was incorrect, if the student did give an incorrect answer, or I could explain why their correct answer was the right one, just affirm that, yes, this is your reasoning was sound. This is why you got that answer. I also want to provide more direct links to resources in the check-in questions because I noticed I was a little bit inconsistent in my haste to get this through at the time. I need to provide more links, direct links to databases and to certain web pages because I don't think I can expect students to remember the step-by-step process of going from the library homepage to this page to that page. Just give them the direct link. It saves time and energy. So that's something I need to work on. I also noticed I need to create simpler check-in questions, especially looking at that one question that was asking students to use two different filters in Academic Search Complete and putting it in that question. I think they got confused. So I just need to make it simpler, focus on one filter at a time for each question. Don't try to mesh multiple filters in one question. And I also noticed I kind of tended to ramble in between interactive check-in questions. I need to create shorter content sections because there's just so much we need to cover. And you notice that some portions of the research process you need to have in all at once. And sometimes it can be a little bit too long. So I need to focus more on maybe breaking it up, trying to find a logical spot to stop it where I can do a break and maybe even shorten that content delivery a little bit more. That way students aren't, again, zoning out at the computer screen or getting up, getting a snack, doing whatever else, just saying, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So that's something I know I need to improve on. And then finally, I need to promote the PlayPosit option or the two-shot option to instructors, which I've already done for the semester. I created a pretty little flyer on Canva, um, put down the benefits like, hey, your students will be more engaged, they'll have more time in class to have hands-on experience, and you can totally make it customizable. Just tell me what you need. So I shot off that email earlier this semester. I haven't gotten any requests for a flipped classroom model or a two-shot yet, but fingers crossed, here's hoping. So pros and cons, the easy parts and the challenges of doing the two-shot model. Now, the good parts was creating customizable content. It's so great, especially when your instructor that is requesting the play posit gives you everything that they want, examples of what they're looking for, and you can totally do it the way you want. Whether you are creating it in whatever video editing software that you're working with, uploading it to play posit, adding whatever types of interactive questions, because it's not just multiple choice questions and the fill-in free for all. I think there's like surveys, there's equations, there's all sorts of things. I haven't really explored too much, but so many options. Another good thing is working with the instructor to have a successful flipped classroom experience. That's why it's always important to have a good working relationship with your instructors for whatever subject area you are assigned to. I was lucky to hit it off right away with this sociology instructor, despite sociology not being my normal liaison subject. And then finally, sharing the finished product in Canvas. Because PlayPosit is a plugin into Canvas, it's just so easy to just put it in there, share the assignment with the instructor after you publish it, and you just don't really have to worry about it too much. The challenge is getting instructor buy-in. And that's what I said before I am experiencing right now, because it takes so long for instructors to even like a one-shot session. How are you going to get them to like a two-shot session? So it's just really, you have to sell the benefits of having a two-shot, of having a flipped classroom model. Unreliable video editing software. I found that out after working with FlexClip again for the second time. It wasn't good. It messed up everything on the formatting. I didn't like it. So I moved to Canva. You can actually make some videos in Canva. It's a lot easier, a lot more user-friendly. Trying to stay under the target length of 20 minutes for the tutorial overall. Since right now, the majority of my students are Gen Zs, so their attention span is a lot less than my generation's millennials. And probably with Gen Alpha, it's going to get even smaller. So I just really try not to go over 20 minutes, but it's difficult because you know how when teaching information literacy, you want to cover everything because everything just works together and it's just really difficult. You really have to plan on what to leave in and what to leave out, and maybe follow that up with in the second part of your two-shot session. And then finally, you're unsure if students even watch the play posit. That's why it's so important to have a good working relationship with the instructor, because there's only so much you can do as a librarian in getting the students to watch this play posit. You're not their normal instructor. So you don't really have that, I guess, authority, so to speak, as the normal instructor would, the instructor that they see on an everyday basis. So you just have to go in fingers crossed that your students watched and can retain the information. So that's about it. These are just the references that I used for this presentation. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email at michelle.sanchez@chaffey.edu.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was absolutely fantastic. I loved all the Parks and Rec references. Fantastic. We do have some questions. Let's see here. So first of all, how do you address students who haven't done the work ahead of time, especially if you have a mix of students who have and haven't?
Well, sometimes I do ask out loud to the class. It's like, oh, how many of you have watched the tutorial? And depending on how many hands are going up, I am quick to say, it's okay if you didn't. I'm not here to judge you. And then I will say, if you need help, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, or if you just didn't have time, ran out of time, just call me over. Once I let you guys do your thing, have hands-on experience with your computers, just call me over and I will help you. So that's really how I manage that particular instance.
Thank you. How did you find, wait, oh, did you find that they would all watch the whole 20 minutes, or did you have no way to evaluate if they had watched it or not?
I believe PlayPosit, it told me who, like I think their email addresses or their IP addresses told me who watched it, but it didn't tell me if they watched the whole thing. So I would have to assume, okay, good faith, you guys watched the whole thing. So yeah, that's what I noticed at least.
Cool. Um, Next question. How often do you anticipate the need to update the interactive video given the inevitability or the inevitable interface and content updates by library databases?
So far, not so much. Again, it depends. I think Academic Search Complete just updated their interface, so I need to update that. There you go. But it's not very often. I have to make it a point to check, set a little reminder on my calendar on a certain day, maybe once a month, just double check. And then if it does need to be updated, just do it before I forget.
And these two are about the same. Did you record the 20-minute video in one take or did you splice together shorter videos?
I, because I'm a perfectionist, I try to do it in one take, but I find, just don't do that. You're going to mess up. And I do mess up. That's something you need to definitely account for. Like, it's not going to be a perfect one shot. So, yeah, I do end up splicing together various audios and various screen captures.
I also try to always record all in one shot. I know that's true. Let's see. Is the out of class portion considered part of the two shot, or are students visiting the library twice in addition to the play pause it tutorial?
Uh, Not really, because in my case, I would consider it to consist of the play pause it tutorial as part one, and then me going to their class or them coming to the library classroom as part two. That's how at least in my situation, it would be. I'm not sure how it would be for you, depending on how you run your IL sessions or how your coordinator or manager wants you to run your IL sessions.
Thank you. I have one more. Let's see. Did your campus already have a subscription to Play Posit, or did you need to advocate for getting it? Or did you use a personal or free account?
We already had it. Chaffey College, I think they've had it for some time. I'm not quite sure how long they've had it before I started here, but yes, they've already had a subscription to it.
Awesome. If anyone has a question, or if I missed one because the chat was very active, um, let me know, repost it. You can also unmute yourself if you feel comfortable with that. But I'm just giving this a once over if you just give me a second here. Someone asked, is it similar to LibWizard? I'm not sure what that's referring
Oh,
to.
LibWizard. I have, yeah, because LibWizard, I believe, I haven't used it very often for tutorials, but you can create tutorials in it. It's vastly different from LibWizard. From at least from what we use, we just kind of had that typical, oh, read the instructions, and maybe you can embed a YouTube video in it in LibWizard. But no, play pause it. I would say it's vastly different, mainly because you have the option to upload your own video and have it be only exclusive as a video without straight up text where you have to stop and read and read and read. Um, but yeah, maybe it is similar in a way where there are interactive questions that you could add in both LibWizard and PlayPosit. But I would just say PlayPosit is just a smidge more better, just because I think it's a little bit more engaging in terms of visuals.
I was muted. How's the accessibility for Play Posit?
It's not gonna lie, it's not too great. Because when I was at the time, I didn't know how to do closed captions. I had to do the transcript. But when I did the English 1A play posits, I had to download my MP4 file from Canva, upload it into what's called, let's see, what do we have? The Tech Connect, which is a technical support program or software provided by our community college chancellor's office. Add the closed captions there. So, but now that I do think about it, PlayPosit does allow you to upload a VTT file for closed captions for people who are hard of hearing. But I tried messing with that. It gave me a headache. So I just sent it off to our community college's service to auto generate closed captions. But in terms of other accessibility, it's not that great. If you do have access to Play Pause It, I recommend just messing around with it, exploring it, seeing what they have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Michelle today? All right, if you come up with a question later, oh, no, they remuted. Do we have a question? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No? Okay. So if you do have a question later on, you can always contact Michelle directly. Her email will be on the LibGuide page along with the recording and the slides. That should be up sometime Friday. Thank you all for attending. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.